Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a new Ram 1500 Black Widow edition. First and foremost though, a huge shout out and thank you to Kunani for getting me the footage on this Ram 1500 Black Widow. Check out our Instagram in the description down below. Let's get right into the video. Let's go over this Black Widow Ram 1500. So first off, you can see the venting here on the hood, which looks super aggressive. It's one of my favorite touches on the Black Widow package because again, it just adds this level of aggression to the truck. And you can see this one is green. You guys know my favorite color, so it's pretty cool to see that. We've got the oversized fender flare, and then you guys can see the tire and wheel setup. This one's got 35s on it, which look really good. And then you can see the LED lights there, and coming down below, we've got the bumper. Notice how we have parking sensors integrated into the bumper. Now, this is a high ground clearance front bumper, so it has that off-roader look, which again, I think is really cool. This is built off of Sport, so you've got the chrome on the Ram logo, and then you've got the blacked out elements on the rest of the grille. And then coming here to the other side, you guys can see the recovery hook, tow hook, recovery hook, whatever you want to call it, area there on the front bumper. And again, it still has that off-roader type look to it, so I think overall it looks really cool. And then you guys can see the lights integrated into the bumper as well. Now, just like, all the other Black Widow trucks, this does have a suspension lift on it. And you guys can see some of the components here on the front end with everything. Typically what they'll do is they'll lift the trucks and then they'll also do aftermarket shocks with them. That's typically how it goes, so that you get a smoother ride with the truck with the shocks, right? It's got a little bit better dampening. And then obviously the lift, right, to give it a nicer stance. Then, it's going to give it more ground clearance as well. But you guys can see the wheels here look fantastic. So you've got, notice how they have the bolts in it, so it makes it look like a beadlock wheel, and then you guys can see the lift right there on the side. Really aggressive tires on it. You can see the bolts here on the fender flare. Something to mention is they do larger wheels, right? They'll do like 20-inch wheels, and so you'll have a little bit more wheel, a little bit less sidewall. And then you guys saw the Black Widow logo there off the side. They don't change anything with the mirrors, but it's cool to see the mirrors are body painted so it matches the rest of the truck. And then coming here to the rear, same thing as what they do there in the front with the lift and the tires and the wheels and everything. And you know what? It looks great. I will say that. This truck does have a wheelhouse liner, which is great for off-road purposes because it makes it easier to clean. And then notice we have the Sport logo there in the back. And then coming here to the rear, you guys will see you've got the SCA badge there. And then looking at the bumper, you guys can see the texture on all of that. And then still has the normal, badges you get with the Ram truck. A lot of people have been asking about towing capacity with these trucks when you lift them. Towing capacity can be affected a little bit because, especially when you add aftermarket shocks, you can decrease the payload capacity of a truck quite a bit, and then that'll decrease the towing capacity. It's just going to be on a truck-by-truck basis. You're going to have to reach out to the manufacturers and get those specs from based on the shocks and everything that have been put on the truck. But that's something to take into account if you're thinking about lifting your truck or buying a Black Widow like this. But going on from that, here's a closer look at the wheels so you guys can see the attention to detail. And I think the design on this wheel is really cool. And then notice how they have the red brake caliper. That's also kind of a thing that they do with the Black Widow trucks. Again, lift, tires, wheels, they do red brake calipers, oversized fender flares, and then they'll do the hood and then the front bumpers. Sometimes they'll do rear bumpers, but typically just the front bumpers, or front bumper rather, on the truck. And then you guys can see a better view here of the suspension components and everything here on the front end. And something to mention with the Rams is since they've got the 5-link coil suspension in the back end, even with a lift, they still drive really smooth. And so it's actually a really good truck to lift because it's always smooth and compliant from a suspension standpoint, which is definitely something that I would be looking for if I was going to be lifting a truck. And you guys can see they actually do kind of like reinforce things a little bit underneath. So yeah, I think it looks great overall. And then here is a quick look at the side step, and you guys can see it retract there in just a moment, which is another neat little thing. Then here's a couple pictures. You guys can see the full front view of the truck. Here's another one from the side. But yeah, you guys can see the front view there with the truck with the bumper and the winch and everything, and the light bars and all that looks really aggressive. And then all of the logos all around the side to the back. And then you guys notice the blacked out exhaust tips as well with the truck and then the bumper right there. Now, popping here to the interior, this is where there are some changes, but not as many obvious ones as what you have on the exterior, I guess we'll say. So this is the door panel for the rear. This is completely stock. They haven't changed anything here. So this truck's built off of Bighorn Sport. So you still have the leather bolstering and then the cloth and inserts in the door panel and all that kind of stuff. They do change the seats though, and you guys will see those in just a moment. You can kind of see the back of the seat. They do change it to leather. Notice this does have the rubber floor mats, which is great for off-roading and winter conditions and all that fun stuff. But here's what they do with the seats. So they changed it, basically just the covering of the seat is changed. So you've got the leather seats now, and notice how they have the quilted design in it. You've got the red stitching and the piping and all that, and it looks really cool. Kind of looks like what you get with an upscale Ram Rebel. I mean, you can't get those seats on a Rebel, but like, you know what I'm talking about, with the contrast with the red and the black, I think looks great. And then here's just the center area with the USBs and the power outlet and all that for the rear passengers. Or I guess also the TRX. Those seats, I guess, would be kind of more similar to what you have with the TRX. So I guess that's a better way to look at it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But going on from that, here's a closer look at the seats here in the rear, so you guys can kind of see what those look like. Bolstering looks great on it, and I really like that quilted design. I just think it looks nice and very upscale. And this is something that you actually can get on your just Ram 1500. You don't have to get a Black Widow truck. I know that there's a lot of companies that'll offer that after the fact, and so it's something that I think if I had like a Bighorn or even like a Rebel or Tradesman or something, and I just wanted the interior to feel nicer, just do the little cat skin swap where you just put the different seat covers on. You could have something that looks like this, and it makes the interior just look so much more upscale. And Ram does a good job on the door panels, and so it even though the colors don't match, the theme kind of all goes together, and so I think it looks great overall. So I think that's a job well done by Black Widow by picking that for the interior, because it looks nice. And then here's some still shots of the seats. You guys can kind of see those a little bit different lighting, different resolution, all that fun stuff. And then popping here to the front door panel, you can see it's the same as what you have in the back material-wise. And again, they haven't changed anything from stock. It does have power folding mirrors, which is nice. And you guys will see that it's good that it has that, especially considering the price point of this particular truck. And then I love how Ram has stuffs in the cushioning there for cup holders at the bottom. I always thought that was funny. Instead of like building into the plastic molding, they're like, nope, we're just going to put some cushioning in there, and that'll work as the cup holder, which it's great because, I mean, you can take it out if you don't want to use that as a cup holder. You just want to use it as storage. And then coming down here to the side, you guys can see the light controls. And you've got that little red button there. I'm pretty sure that's for the ambient lighting, or it's going to be for one of the lights outside with the light bars and everything, but I'm pretty sure it's for the ambient lighting. I might be wrong, but you guys can see the red ambient lighting there, which is another cool touch with the truck. And then you guys can see the seat adjustments here on the side with the lumbar as well. And then you can see the bolstering here on the side of the seat. Now, we do have the Black Widow gauge cluster, and you guys will notice that basically the screen's the same, but then they put the Black Widow logos there for the tachometer and speedometer. And again, it's another nice touch that they add to the truck. And then moving on from that, you guys can see the dash here. Again, stock Bighorn dash. They didn't change anything with the dash. They do make it loaded up, so it does have the Alpine sound system. That might be disappointing to some people because, it doesn't have the Harman Kardon sound system, which is just a little bit nice, but the Alpine's still great. It still has a subwoofer, it still has pretty good clarity. It just doesn't have the same clarity as what you get with the Harman Kardon in the trucks. And so that's one of the downsides of building it off of a Bighorn package. And then you guys can see push to start. You've got normal truck stuff, well, I guess modern truck stuff, cruise control. You've got the gear limiter on the Bighorn. And then notice that this truck actually has the e-torque because it has the auto stop start system. You have to get e-torque to get that system, so it's pretty interesting. And then we do have the 12-inch display. We'll have another viewpoint of that in just a moment. But notice the climate controls flanking either side. You've got the radio controls as well, and the hazard light button there at the top. And I guess we're taking another look here at the 12 volt there at the top. But here's another view. We'll pop it up right now. Here's another view of the 12-inch display. You guys can see, again, with all the controls on either side. And it's good that they put the 12-inch display with the truck because, again, it's a pretty pricey truck. And so you're going to want to have the nicer display with the truck itself. And then you guys can see the trailer brake controls down below. And then you got the USBs with the center console that slides backwards and forwards with the Bighorn package. And we'll have another viewpoint of the center console in just a moment. But this does come with a coin holder still, which, even though 2021 everyone's doesn't really seem to have changed, it still has the coin holders. You also got the cup holders right there. And then you can see the center console. We've got the red stitching that goes down with the truck, and then you've got the leather on the top of the center console, which is another nice touch, and again ties everything in with the seats on the truck itself. And yeah, pretty straightforward, and you guys can see the quilting there in the background a little bit. But then lifting up the center console, you guys can see the measuring tables there on the back of it. Definitely another nice little touch with the package. And again, I think it's a cool little Easter egg with the truck itself. And see just all the little details on it. And I think it's cool that they're still carrying it over, and that they didn't just do that for 2019, that they're still doing it for the newer trucks. And that's the original window sticker. But truck costs a lot more because of the Black Widow package, so that's what it originally cost. But once you have the Black Widow package, things change just a little bit. Yeah, it definitely does have the eTorque Hemi, though. It's good to see that. And then you guys can see the front seat Black Widow logo there at the top. Same quilted design with the leather. You got the red piping and the red stitching. Yeah, I'm really into these seat covers. I really like them. If I still had my Ram Rebel, I'd probably switch them over to these seat covers because they just look really cool. I definitely will say that. But yeah, the bolstering on the front seats is going to be a little bit more aggressive than what you have with the rear seats. Again, just makes sense, right? What you're going to have with the driver and all that stuff, and the passenger right in the front. That's just how things usually go. But coming over here, notice the glove box has been left to the stock unit, so they didn't change anything there. It still says Bighorn on it. And then you can see with the door panel, you've got the cloth trim, you've got the blacked out trim, and then you've got the leather and stitching, again in white. I guess they could have changed the stitching to red, but then probably would have cost a lot of money to change just such a small element. And then finishing things up top here, you guys can see that we've got the darker colored headliner. You do have the full panoramic sunroof that's been added to this truck, and I'll show you guys another viewpoint in just a moment. But notice we got the universal garage door openers with the truck, and then you guys can see all the controls there for the sunroof and the power sliding rear window as well. So it's nice that it has that feature with it. And then moving on from that, you guys can see now the panoramic sunroof, which again, it's nice that it has that because it's another luxury feature that you kind of expect with a truck at the price point that this is at. And then here's some still shots of everything here at the front with the seats. You guys can see the Black Widow logos, and then the gauge cluster with the Black Widow logo again. Then there's it starting up, and then notice there's a spider on the touchscreen. That's why I showed that, and it looks like it moves around the touchscreen. That's pretty cool. And then there's another shot of the seats, and we now have the price here, so you guys can see the total price, and then all the options, the warranty information, and everything with the truck. Pricey, but it's definitely a cool, unique looking truck.